Howdy gang, Michelle here, and I know many of you have shown a lot of interest in my Dragon Eye journals, and I mean, I understand why. Look how absolutely gorgeous these are, and it comes with, at least mine come with 50 pages and a matching back and the whole thing. So the biggest thing I get asked is, oh my God, how do you do these? Um, they're pretty simple to do, but a lot of people actually may already have this mold, but they don't. The biggest question I get is, how do you get the eyes so realistic? Some people will paint them on, which is awesome, and you know, yay. I don't have the time or patience for that. So I make mine, which I'm going to show you in this video, and give it that real effect. Almost like 3D, like it's a real eye looking at you. It's glassy, and it gives off the catch lights just like a regular eye would. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this. For this particular one, I have to send a huge shout out to Megan and Scott over at Glitter Designs by Two. This one here, I actually used their Chrome Flakes in Dark Orchid. Absolutely love this color. You can see the blues, the purples, you got some oranges and golds in here. It's just so dynamic, and the color shift is amazing. Now, you don't have to use just flakes for this. I personally love that look. You can actually use some mica powders, which they have some great iridescent mica powders. Some that I actually found that I love too. They're kind of expensive because they're made for auto paint. Are these ones here. As you can see, this is like a purple green color shift. But these tiny little bits here, these tiny little packages are really expensive. So, but you can also use, if you guys are like me and have Artezas, in your pack of Artezas, they have some, like this one here is Periwinkle Gold. And as you can see, it's got that little color shift with like white and periwinkle gold, which I used a little bit of that one for this ice dragon that I am just about finished. And you can see the color shift in this one with this just brilliant blue eye. When my customer came to me and said, Michelle, I want this bright blue-eyed dragon, I thought immediately Game of Thrones, when one of the dragons was turned by the White Walkers. So that is where I got the idea to go with this one here. I am waiting on the refill paper for this one because my customer is like me and loves fountain pens, and I did not have enough. I was like 15 pages shy to fill this one with the fountain pen paper that is specific for fountain pens. But as you can see, I used a little bit of flake with this, but I also used that periwinkle in with this. So you don't just need the flakes, although I personally prefer and love the flakes for that. So I'm going to show you guys how to do these and give you this little trick for the eye. So I'm going to put this one aside. Now for me, I love Glitter Designs by Two, and I love the fact that Megan, I was talking to her because these are the only two that they currently have at the time of this video. But I did talk to her, and she said she's going to get some more colors from her distributors. So I'm super excited about that. But right now they have the Dark Orchid, which I just used for the dragon I just showed you with the purples and blues. And I did another one in this one here. And it's called Gold Tania. And it's gold with some rose gold and pinks. It's just beautiful also. So there's that. But I mean, you can find flakes in a couple of places. They're kind of expensive. It just depends on what you find and how often you're going to use them for what you want to do. Now with this one, I have a tendency to reuse bottles that I get once they go out, and I will order just off-brand flakes when I find them off Amazon. And I don't remember where I got this from. I'm sorry. But I'm hoping that Megan's going to get this color in too. This is like green, pink, blue, and I use this for another item I did. Hold on, it's kind of dusty because it's been tucked away. And it's sealed up really good. Hold on. Come on. Here we go. And it's this little trinket box with a paw print. It's not as shiny because it's a little dusty. I had it put away. But you can see, I mean, that's the color we're going to get from this effect here. And it's going to be a little bit more of a green effect because, like I said, that one's kind of dusty. But as you can see, beautiful. So this is the one I'm going to use for this. And as you can see, I have my mold here, and there's a couple of little flakes because I almost got started. And then I was like, whoa, I can't. So I'm going to put a link as to where you get this mold. And you cannot use just any A5 base mold with this. Make sure when you buy this, it comes as the set with the base mold, because a regular A5 mold that you might use just for like a regular A5 journal is bigger. Okay. And to show you what I'm talking about on this particular one that I did for myself, I didn't pay attention, and I used the bigger A5 paper and the bigger A5 back. Because why? I wasn't thinking. Because these are A5 as far as the height from top to bottom, but width, these dragon ones are just a wee bit shorter. So I'm going to link you as to where you can get the set from, and also the actual paper size that fits in here as well. But because this one is for me, you know, I'm not going to make a big stink, but I just wanted to show you guys the difference of why you can't use standard A5 paper and a standard A5 mold. So if you find a place that's only selling the front and without the back, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Just go with this one that I'm going to link you guys to. And then that way you're good to go. So, what I do with my flakes is, I have, this is called my beater brush, and the reason why is I beat it to hell. And I use it to kind of get in all these little nooks and crannies. So use a brush that you don't care if it gets mashed or anything like that. Because if you just lay the flakes on here, I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. That's what they're going to look like. Okay, they're just going to lay there and they're going to look like flakes. You're going to want to mash them in. And that's what really gives it the texture. So what I do is I just take some of my flakes and lightly just work it like this, just dropping smatterings of it here and there, and work a section at a time. And always remember, while you're not using it, put the lid on, because you will knock it over, or you will get wind on it, or somebody will breathe. Okay. And this is why it is so important to use a beater brush. You're going to beat these chrome flakes into all these little cracks and crevices. Smatter them all over the place. Make sure you get pure coverage. And this is why it's important, for me at least, I found, to lay a good amount of these flakes down. Don't just drip your brush in and do this, because it will take you forever. Just shake them on here and then start working them around. And you're going to cover this whole thing. Now with this, you also have some really deep crevices over here. So make sure you get full coverage. Now you will use quite a bit of these chrome flakes. Keep that in mind. That's why I love getting them from Megan. She has them at a awesome price and always has some really great sales going on. So I will be sure to put you guys a link for that as well. So I am going to continue working on this. I'm going to pause the video while I continue working on this, and then I'll be back in just a shake once all these little nooks and crannies are completely covered, and then we'll go to the next step. Alrighty, so as you can see, this is completely covered. Look at that. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be gorgeous. Now, as you can see right here, I'm gonna shift this a little bit. Like, stop it. Right here in the center of the eye, it looks kind of bald. Don't worry about that, because that's going to be completely covered. Nobody's going to see that. So even if you don't cover that, that's fine. But you want to make sure all the little cracks and crevices are covered. This is literally a prism of color. You have greens, you have purples, you have blues, you have golds, you have pinks. I mean, it's just gorgeous. All right, so now what I'm going to do is get my resin mixed. I use these nice big cups here that there we are. I had to grab them, forgot where I put it. I get these reusable ones from Southern Glitter Molds, and they hold like 300 ml. I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go. 300 milliliters. And I found for this to be completely filled, and the back as well. This here is about 220, 230 for this completely to be filled. And then for the back, the rest of the 300 should be perfect. Now, let me grab this. And as you can see for mine, I have mine marked because I also do regular A5 journals. Now, I am going to do the back of this exactly like I did this, because you want the front and the back to match. So I'm going to do the same thing, same technique on this. Now, another really important thing is when you are done with your molds, especially when you use these flakes or any kind of mica, make sure you give them a really good cleaning, just regular dish soap and a little bit of warm water, nothing hot, okay, warm water. And then once it's done bathing, then you're just going to use some alcohol in a spray bottle. Just regular isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle. And then what I do is I just spray the whole thing really good. Make sure you get down in those nooks and crannies, and take a Q-tip while the alcohol is still in there, and just kind of run around, kind of like you know, cleaning ears or something. Get in all those little cracks and crevices. Make sure there's nothing left over. And then once you make sure everything's out, you're going to give it one more good spray with isopropyl alcohol, and then leave it sit upside down to dry naturally. Oh, look, I have some extras. Yay. I'm going to put this right on top of this and give it a little light beating. Knock off any extras so that way I have some for my base here. So I'm going to do this part of my base, make sure that's completely covered. Then I'm going to mix my resin, and I will be back to show you what I add to it, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, so we are back, and I did my mix of my epoxy. And for these molds, I have a bunch of different types of epoxies. I have fast set epoxies, I have deep pore epoxies, I have hard cast, which is what this one is, that I absolutely love. As you can see, I use it a lot. This is a 1 gallon set. I have the other bottle on the floor. And I got this right before Christmas, I want to say for Black Friday. And it's from a DIY epoxy, and it's called Artisan. And it's equal parts A and B. But it's a very wonderful hard set resin. And I have a hot box here that I use to cure my tumblers and everything like that. And I put this in there when I have tumblers working and just let it sit, and it cures perfectly. So what I like to do with these, now with the Ice Dragon, obviously I used white. With this one here, I'm going to use black. This is mixed, ready to go. And these, I absolutely love these, and I literally, I cut the end off by accident. I wasn't paying attention. But these stir sticks, I'm going to put a link to also. It's got a spoon on one end, and it's got this sturdy stir stick on the other. These are absolutely awesome. Again, this is something else that I got from Southern Glitter Molds, which is where I got my dragon mold set from. It's where I got this from. It's where I got this stir stick from. I absolutely love Charlotte, and everything in her shop is amazing. So obviously you'll find that link below as well. Now to add my black to this, and please make sure that if you're using these and you go to shake it, that the lid's on. Okay, speaking from experience, we won't go into that right now, but you want to use a resin friendly pigment. Do not, I'm going to repeat this again, do not think you can just use acrylic paint with this, because your resin will never completely set proper and it will always feel soft. I learned that also from experience. So this here is called Black Diamond. It's from Counterculture DIY, and you only need a little bit of this to get this whole 300 mil completely black. And also, depending on the color that I'm doing the dragon, I found these at Michael's, I want to say, and these are from Folk Art. It's kind of hard to see because it's so glittery, but these are from Folk Art, and it's called Dragonfly Glaze. They have a bunch of different color shifts, but as you can see, it goes from purple to green, and I thought that would be absolutely perfect to add into the resin to go with these. I mean, why not, right? And it just gives the inside look a little bit of color and texture, as well as just the plain flat black. Now, if you just want to do plain flat black mold for your resin, yeah, hey, that's all well and good. So you only need actually a few drops of this. I usually do in a mill like this, or 300 mils like this, I usually do maybe 10. So bear with me because it comes out quick. Whoops, see, that was maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, look, it's just a tiny bit in there, right? This whole thing is just going to go black instantly, like you just got squirted by a squid or an octopus. Look at that. Full, deep coverage. So because you have so much in here, you're really going to have to get in there and mix it well. And the test for me is to go like that, and if I can't really see it come through on my stir stick, I know we're good. See, that's good complete coverage. You can't see the red on my stick. Okay, so now once that's mixed, and with this you don't need a whole lot. It's a glaze, it's not acrylic, and as you can see the color shift right there on the top. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll start seeing just a little of that glaze peeking through with the black. I don't know if you guys, can you see that? Yeah, there it is. And it gives it that depth of color. And then when you pour it and it dries, see, you can totally see it in there. So that is beautiful. And again, I mean, if you don't want to do that, hey, that's all well and good. I like to give things a little bit of contrast and a little bit of depth when I'm working with them. So there we go. Okay, so that's all mixed. We're going to move these out of the way. Let me grab my molds. So my back is completely ready on this one. So I'm going to pour this one first, and then I'm going to move it over to my heated hot box area. Get everything off of this. Alright, and then you're going to grab your baby wipe or your paper towel or whatever you have. Spray it down with some isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and then simply, that's another reason why I love these sticks. You don't waste money with popsicle sticks or tongue depressors. This really gets in there and gets the job done. Wipe it. Boom. And it's ready to go for another day. All right. So when you pour these, if any of these flakes loosen up, it's totally okay. It's going to happen. And then they'll rise with the bubbles. And it actually looks pretty cool. And this is where I actually do use a popsicle stick just to catch the overflow on these and put it back in. Make sure there's no messies hanging down. All right, now I'm going to set that like that. Now, with this, I know you're going, Michelle, you missed a whole lot. I know. I like to just pour a little bit and then move it around. Let it level out. And then when it gets to the point where you're getting kind of close, take your popsicle stick and just move that resin around a little, get into those little corners and everything like that. That way you know you have full coverage. And then you can come back in and pour over on the other side. So what I'm going to do now is turn this around because I'm a lefty, and then very lightly start to pour. You don't want a whole lot coming out at once. And then you're going to come right behind, I call them nubbies, where your journal holds on. All right. And I see that I just over poured in this one spot, and that's totally okay because it wouldn't be me if I didn't. Then you're just gonna again drag it over, and it's okay if you pull a little from a spot because it's gonna level itself out. It's better to put a little bit less at first than too much, because then you have to pour it out and it's a pain. And you don't want to do that. Get in these little spots in between here. In between the nubbies. And that actually looks pretty good. Now, what I do to make sure that I have full coverage all the way in, I get down at eye level and I just kind of swipe just to make sure that everything's looking pretty level. You want them not necessarily doming on this because your nubbies are your point of full, at least for me. All right, so now I'm going to grab my torch. And I'm doing a quick torch on this. don't do it too long, because some molds don't like torches like this. I found with this resin and these molds that Charla has for this, it's perfect. So I keep my torch close by my hot box, and then for the first 30 minutes I check it like every couple of minutes, because they will still continue to rise. And I'm going to move this to my hot box area. What I do is slide like a piece of cardboard, or in this case I'm using a file folder, on here. I keep it level, and then I'm going to walk it over to my hot box, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that's in my hot box area. I'm going to put this down, and we're going to fill this part. So right now I have about 200 ml in this. So I usually pour the 200, I let it sit for a little bit, and then I pour the remainder, what I need to fill, I mix again and put it in. So with these, I always start in the deepest crevices first, which are right here in the horn area, just outside the eye. Then I come up here around the edges, and I get these, and I go in front of the nubbies. And then when it's pouring kind of light, that's when I go around and behind the nubbies. And again, make sure you get in all those corners, and it will flow pretty evenly, and it'll start catching down in towards the center. And then, whoops, sorry, I will take my scraper, my popsicle stick, scrape down the inside of this, and catch all that extra resin that's still in there to come on out. All right. So I'm going to put this aside, because I let this just cure in there, and then tomorrow it literally will all pull out. And then I just wash it and use it next time. All right. So I'm going to put this one aside. Let's scrape off my stick. Now, as you can see, I still have plenty of room to get about another 60 ml in here to completely fill it up. But I'm going to let this rest just so any air bubbles that are in those deep crevices come up for about 30 minutes. And then I come back in and I do another pour right on top. I pop all these initial bubbles. I think I'm running out of fluid. And then, like I said, I put it aside. I let it rest for about 30 minutes or so. And then I come in and I do the next pour on top. And then it's completely set up. Sorry, I'm refilling up my torch real quick. There we go. That's better. Get all those little micro bubbles out of there. Good. Okay, so I'm going to sit this in the hot box area. And then, as you can see, I popped them, but all those deep crevices, which is like right in this area, those bubbles are going to keep coming up. So I'm going to move this over to my hot box area and let it sit for a little bit, and then come back and do the rest of the pour on this. But I'm going to show you guys how I start to do my little trick with the eye. So I actually have 2 sets of these. So I'm going to grab this one and show you. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a piece of paper about the size of a Post-it note. Okay? Because that fits perfectly over this area where the eye is. Okay, what I usually do is just go corner to corner. Okay? Then you're going to grab a pencil, preferably a pencil, and oh, there we are. Kind of like a little trace. You can feel with your hands where it is. So for me, I like doing something like this. And it gives me that outside dimension of where the eye is. Come on. Now, I only had to do this once, and I made myself a little template from it. Okay, so that's pretty much this part of the eye right here, which is what we focus on. And then I made a little template to use right here, which is the same size as what's here. Okay, so get yourself a piece of either cardboard, or this is just a piece of extra cardstock that I had, and then trace this onto that cardstock, like cut it out and then trace the cardstock, cut it, and then use that as your template. Okay, now I have a friend of mine who does a lot of work with dragon art, and I showed her what I like to do. She gave me permission to use some of her dragon eyes to do this. So the measurement that you want to print these eyes out at is, here we go, measuring this one here at the bottom. This is 2 3/4, and I believe it's like 1.5 by 1.5. All right, so you're going to go 2 3/4 from here to here, and then 1.5 from here to here. And for this one that I'm using for this eye, I don't think I have any of these in singles yet. No, I don't. I pre-printed a lot of these because I just knew I was going to go through a lot. I'm going to use this one here because it has a lot of depths of color in it. And then I'm going to take, because I'm on black in this area, I'm going to take my template and I'm going to lay it right over the eye area. And you want to make sure that you're pretty level. And it's okay if some of this hangs off. It's totally okay, because we're going to fit it right into that little crevice. Okay, so I'm using my silver Sharpie. And I'm just tracing around where I need to cut. Okay, so if you see that, where the silver is, that's where I'm going to cut. And you want to get it as close as possible to the inside if you're using a thick Sharpie like I just did. I just use that because I know there's more black in the image, and it's harder to see when you use a black Sharpie. For me, at least. Okay. Now, throw that extra away. Move that out of the way. Now, right with this, you can see that there's some white, and a little bit of white up there. Okay. What you're going to do is just simply take a black Sharpie. I like this really super thick one. And then just black this out, which you're really not going to tell because of the resin. It's all going to look glossy anyway. So if there's a little white down here, give them a little bit of eyeliner. Mark out that white down here at the bottom as well. Okay. Oh, hold on. One little spot. Okay. So now you can see it all looks good. It's all uniform. All looks clean. So once I have this done, then I have to obviously wait until my mold is cured, and then I can walk you guys through how to place this into the eye and then finish it off from there. So I will see you guys back in about 24 hours, but a blink for you guys, and we'll finish this off. Thanks, gang.
24 hours later.
Okay, everybody, welcome back, and it has been 24 hours later. Ta-da! And these are nice and ready to go. And I also want to show you, I used the extra one that I had, that I made the eye pencil thing from, because I wanted to show you how it would look using just mica. So even if you don't have chrome flakes, and you have some micas, you can totally use a mica. I used this one here, which I think I found at a car shop, because these are intense color shift colors that go into auto paint, and these packets were like really expensive for these tiny little ones, even though they're samples. But I just love that flip color of the green to purple and everything else. So that was a question that somebody had asked me, is do I have to use chrome flakes? Can I use micas? Yes. So I did this one after I did the other one last night. So let's do an unmolding of this, and we'll see how it came out. Now, unmolding these is definitely something that will take a little bit of patience, because you have a lot of cracks and crevices for this. You don't just want to yank it out. I mean, you do, but you don't want to do that. So just be patient. Run your fingers, if you have a nail like mine, run it along the inside of the seam, and it makes it a little easier. And then just gently pop those nubbies out. There we go. And sometimes it'll be a little stubborn. Just be patient. Don't be stubborn back. All right. Oh, look at that. And that is with this mica. And look at the teal and the purple. That is beautiful. So yes, you can use micas for this, and you get the same gorgeous effect. So I love how that came out. I'm just getting those little pieces out of the mold so I can clean it. All right. I love this. I might just keep it for myself. I always say that, and I never do. Who else is like that? You work something up and go, oh my goodness, I love it. Okay. So let's get this one, because this is a customer's. The back comes out super easy. And again, these were with the chrome flakes that are similar to the mica, actually, that I used on this, but the depth of it is a little more dynamic. So you have almost a whole rainbow effect in this one. So this is the back. And then we have to be patient all over again with the unmolding of this one. It does not come out as easily as the back. Nubbies. Ooh, look at that. It is very similar to the mica one that I did. Let's do a side by side. So this one on the left is the chrome flakes, and this on the right is the mica. So you can see, other than a little bit more of the chrome effect on this one, it's very close. But yeah, you can totally see the difference. So there you go. Okay, so what we're going to do with the eye, now if you guys remember, I had already cut mine out. And I know from working with these so much which is top and which is bottom. I'm just going to get my Sharpie again real quick because I see I missed a tiny little black spot right here on the bottom. And that right there. Okay, perfect. And then I use UV resin for this because I have the patience of a gnat, and I'm the kind of person that stands in front of a microwave going, come on! So that's why I like to use UV resin. So I'm going to grab my resin here. Now, if you don't have UV resin, you can use regular, although I really wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, because as it's curing, you know, you're on a dome piece here, as you can see when I hold it like this. This is domed. So with regular resin, it's got to cure for some time, and it might just drip all out. And you know, having the UV resin actually takes that part of the equation out, and it's literally instantaneous. So I prefer to use UV resin. I'm going to get my light here. Now, what I like to do is I have a ton of these sponge brushes, and they are pretty handy. So when I use my UV resin, I just realized I didn't change my calendar. I only put enough on the bottom just to kind of touch all the areas in this that I'm going to use to lay my eye in, and just kind of spread it around so that way it holds the eye in place first before we put the top coat on and completely seal her all together. I'm just making sure I'm getting it all around. Okay, so now it kind of holds it for the most part. Now keep in mind that, again, this is a flat piece of paper and you're working with a dome piece. So sometimes it will not play nice, but you just have to be patient and just kind of press it down so that it stays flattened. And then I take my brush, and it still has some of that UV on it. Oh, it's kind of soaked it up. I'm going to use a little bit more on top here. looks like it got soaked up over here underneath. That's why it keeps coming up. So a little bit more. And just move it around. And if you have to do that with this other side also, feel free. Okay, so that way it stays in place. That's what I'm going to do on this other side as well. To do the initial set for this. So I'm just going to hold it down for a few seconds so it can soak up into the paper. This side's staying really well. This side is just not cooperating. So I'm going to put a nice bunch on there like this. And although it's not completely level yet, I'm just going to seal this real quick with a quick 30 seconds just so that it stays in place. And then I can go in and really cover it. And get that glassy effect. There we go. So you see right here it's still lifted and here it's still lifted. But the edges is what I was wanting to remain down. That lifted just a little bit because I didn't hold it down. But that's okay. So now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to hit the bottom. Make sure you try and lay it as flat as possible and push those air bubbles out. And again, this is like a step 2 to get this eye to lay flat. It takes patience, so be patient with it. And just keep working it around and get that eye really saturated, and try and pull out any air bubbles that are possibly underneath of it. That's why I'm using this stir, because it's got a nice little flat side on it. All right. And then feel free, while the light is on it, to just kind of go in and make sure those edges are laying flat while it's curing, and help it along. And for this, I put it on the 60 seconds. Sorry, I'm so quiet. I'm just making sure that all of these pieces are laying nice and flat. All right. This one little bit down here is not laying flat. There we go. That's why there was an air bubble in there. Okay. So for the most part, this is all seamed nicely. And now Just pushing that one piece of air pocket out of there. I'm just going to do one more 30-second on this spot. Just make sure. Because I saw there was a little bubble trapped in there. There we go. Okay, so now that it's finally nice and flat, we're going to put a final coat over it just to give it that nice solid eye look. Okay, and then you're going to hit the UV light for about 5 minutes. And for this particular UV light, you only have increments of 30 or 60 seconds. So I'll hit it for 60 5 times. Once it turns off, I hit it for another 60 and so forth. All right, so you take your UV and just start from the outside. And I don't go all the way to the corner because I know gravity is going to take over and it's going to pull into those corners. So I just go back and forth here. And then stop squeezing and just kind of move it around a little bit. Make sure there's no little divot spots. That looks good. All right, so I'm going to hit it for the first 60. And I'm going to do this for 5 times, and I'll meet you guys back here as soon as that's done. All right, so that is done. And as you can see, it looks great. Nice and glossy. So that is my little tip and trick. And now all I have to do is just add my paper and I'm on my way. So there you go, guys. I hope this helps somebody out, and I can't wait to see what you guys all create. Have a great one. Bye.